Hello, everybody, and I hope you're having a great day. One of my subscribers mentioned in the comment section for me to search on YouTube for a video called The Parable of Gomer, and I did, and it was very interesting. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much. And I would recommend it to anybody else that would like to see it. It was interesting. I think it says a lot of things that we already know, but it just has the person just, is very good with words, very eloquent. And so, if you want, look it up. And my topic today is kind of something along that lines, but different. And I've had people in my comment section who have made comments. What do you say to people? How do you convince them that maybe they should be a little prepared or something? They don't want to listen. I've seen that kind of thing in other comments sections of other YouTubers, and I can tell you something, sometimes it's their own spouses, either a wife or a husband that just is not on board with it, and just it causes a lot of conflict. And I personally don't see an answer, not that light bulb moment, the perfect words that you can say that just causes a light bulb to go off in their head and say, oh yeah, because most of us lived through the last recession. Now, there might be a few teenagers out there it really didn't affect very much, or the very wealthy it didn't affect very much. But the average American person is actually still paying for the consequences behind that, the recession. If nothing else, because we all heard stories, and I think most of you did, about people who even lost their houses and were living in the woods behind the houses that were repossessed. You had people living in their cars. You had some people, their cars and their houses were repossessed. And so it affected everybody. If for no other reason, you paid higher prices. And a lot of people that lost their jobs, and I know because I knew a couple that when they went through the recession, a year before that recession, they had bought a really pretty brand new car. Him and his wife were both working. They were doing okay financially, and they felt they could afford it. And so they bought a new car. Well, when the recession hit, she lost her job. His hours got cut back at work. He wasn't working as many hours anymore because the company came to the workers and said, look, we are really struggling here. We have one or two choices. We can lay quite a few of you off, or you can take a cut in pay. Well, a lot of people chose to go ahead and let's take the cut and pay because, none of them knew who was going to be the ones that were going to lay off. And they were like, well, it could be me, and I don't want to get laid off. So they all agreed to take a cut and pay. And so that made it even harder. And sometime after, a couple of years later, I happened to be in a store, Walmart. And this is before I'm not saying I never shop Walmart, but it might be only one item, maybe two, and that is it. And usually I just have somebody pick that up for me. I don't even bother going. But I seen them there, and they were shopping, and I saw them, and I stopped them and said, hello, how you guys doing? And he said, oh, we're doing much better. My wife finally found a job. We're getting back up on our feet again. And I just made a comment, okay? Because I seen some canned goods and different things in their cart. And I thought it was a way to kind of, give a hint. And said, oh, are you storing some extra things just in case, you have an emergency again or something goes bad? Oh, no, the recession, we're doing okay now. Things are better for us. No, there's no point. The bad times are kind of over for us. So you see? Did they learn? No, as a matter of fact, they were getting ready to take the family out for a dinner that was not a drive-through. Of course, drive-throughs aren't cheap anymore either, but it was actually a very nice restaurant. And I know it would have cost them about $50 to $60. And so, did they learn anything? Of course not. And I know they claim to be Christians, so did they learn? Nope, they sure didn't. And so, I feel that even with the recession, people have lived long enough. They've seen several recessions. There's been, this last one was not our first one. There's been gas vouchers. Now, it's been a long time since there's been gas vouchers, but I've even seen that. And so now you look at, they're talking about this virus. We all know what's happening with this and how bad it could get. We do. I said before that I believed it could cause some serious financial problems. And it seems to be starting to cause serious financial problems. We're just starting to see the beginning of it, and I think it'll get even worse. I do. And so if you see a combination of all these things, and they see the same things you do. They do. They just choose not to care. They ignore the signals. They, just live life. I mean, most of them went to food banks when it happened, when the recession hit. A lot of them went on food stamps. They had a fallback system they felt they could fall back on. And even though the banks were low on food, the food banks were, because, people were not donating as much because there wasn't as much out there. They weren't even donating as much to the churches. They just weren't, because they themselves were struggling to get by. That's actually why churches don't really want to talk about this sort of thing. They want to paint a picture of all good and, prosperity and everything's great and wonderful. Because if they kind of smack you in the face with the truth, you won't cough up as much money for that offering plate. Because you'll know you don't have it. And I'm not trying to bash churches, but that's just truth. And so, I don't think there's, like I said, I do not think there's some magical words that's going to cause a light bulb to go off in people's heads. Now, if it's a close family member, a brother, a sister, a mother, I've got a mother, she don't put nothing away for nothing. She lives for the moment. And I've often told her before, Mom, how come you don't do your grocery shopping once a month? Well, did you know that there's people out there that look at Walmart as going out? I get out of the house, I'm going to go out, I'm going to go shopping at Walmart. They look at it as like, going to the park or going to see a movie. It's time to go out. And there's actually people like that. When I worked at Walmart, Mother's Day, people loved it because all the husbands would take their wives to Walmart because, on Mother's Day, it was, whatever you want to do today, honey, we'll do it. Oh, let's go to Walmart, let's go shopping. I heard that all the time when I worked there. Oh, my husband brought me shopping at Walmart. And I thought, oh my God, how pathetic. That was my thought. Oh Lord, this is pathetic if you think this is fun. But that's how people are. And so they're not going to learn. But if it's, like I said, if it's a close family member, what you can do is you can put a few seeds away, garden seeds. If you've got heirlooms, save a few extra. If you haven't, pick up a few at the store. If you can afford it, buy an extra bag of beans and an extra bag of rice, put it aside. And if you see that things are getting bad or difficult and they're really struggling and they're having a hard time, give it to them. And say, look, this is all I can do. And that's it. That's all you can do. If you can't afford it, because most of us out there, we can't afford to stop for years and years and all this stuff. That's nonsense. We can't afford it. We're lucky if we can afford 3 months as a reserve. We really are. And not only that, just the space that it takes. And those buckets of food that they sell, they're outrageous. So in general, most of us can barely afford to take care of ourselves and maybe have a little extra to do us for a month or two if we're lucky. Most people out there in this country are struggling. Because if nothing else, from the recession, you got high prices in the end. Even if it didn't affect you any other way, it affected you that way for sure. It did. And a lot of people lost their jobs and they didn't get some really wonderful job that paid them more to replace the one that they lost. So that's about all you can do. It really is. If people haven't learned the lessons, a lot of them lost their jobs. They didn't get better jobs to replace them. Prices didn't go down, prices went up. So, even if they're working, they're still paying the effects of that recession through higher prices and less food in their jars or their cans or their bags of sugar, whatever it may be. And you're not going to convince them. You're just not. And so it's not worth the strife that it would cause and the headache that it would cause and the hurt feelings that it would cause. And like I said, If it's a close family member, do that. Some seeds, bag of rice, and a bag of beans. And if they're not a close family member, just move on. Don't harp. Leave them be. We're going to have enough problems worrying about ourselves and how we're going to make it. Take a look around at what's going on with this virus, and trust me, we're going to have a very hard time. But God bless and keep stalking His story.